There's a lot of things you need to know about selections, and it has a whole separate topic in the exam. But in this video, I would like to talk about a couple of specific things that you need to know about the selection tools. And it usually comes up in this topic. So for example, a question can be like, which selection tool has an adjustable brush tip? In that case, you should say that's the quick selection tool, because that's the only selection tool which has an adjustable brush tip. Then there could be a couple of questions about the magic wand tool as well. Like, what does contiguous means, this option here on the top? Well, by default, that's turned on. And that means if I click on an area, it will select all similar colors of that area. And it will stop at the end where it reaches different colors, like the surrounding colors here. But if I turn off contiguous and I do the same thing, it will not only select that part, but also the other non-contiguous parts. So that's what it means, and it's very important to understand how it works. So the same with the black shoes. If I click on that, if contiguous is turned off, then everything that has a similar dark black value will be selected. And on contrary, if I turn on contiguous and I click here, it will stop at the edges. So it will only select contiguous pixels with similar color values. And the tolerance is the option which you can increase if you want to make sure that everything will be selected. I mean, you're increasing the scale of color variations that can be selected. And that's again best to explain if you have a gradient. So I'm just going to create a gradient. And I'm actually going to use this default black and white gradient like that. And then if I use the magic wand and reduce the tolerance and click on an area, like here in the middle, it will select only that much. But as soon as I increase the tolerance, I will select more and more. And the higher my tolerance, the higher range it will be able to select from the gradient. But let me go back to the previous example and also show you a couple of things that you need to know about the lasso tools. Well, first of all, you have 3 different lasso tools, but there's keyboard shortcuts to temporarily switch between the lasso and the polygonal lasso. So if I'm drawing with the lasso tool, that's like free drawing. But if I hold down Alt, that will switch temporarily to the polygonal lasso tool. And if I let go the Alt, then it will finish drawing. I can do the same thing if I have polygonal lasso tool and hold down Alt. I can temporarily switch to the lasso tool. And then when I let go Alt, it will switch back to the polygonal lasso tool. There's also another useful keyboard shortcut. Whenever you want to finish a selection, you can also press Enter. So you don't always have to go and find the beginning point and close your selection. You can quickly close the selection by just pressing Enter. And there's also a couple of useful keyboard shortcuts for the shape selection tools, like the rectangular marquee tool or elliptical marquee tool. So with these ones, first of all, if you draw them and hold down Shift, that will constrain their shape to either a square if it's the rectangle tool or a perfect circle if it's the elliptical marquee tool. Once you draw a shape and you start drawing the next one, you will always create a new selection. But you can also change the option by holding down Shift while drawing the new selection, which will mean you will add to the previous selection. If you hold down Alt, that will remove from a previous selection. Alt Shift together will create an intersection of selections. And of course, you can also change these different modes in the options bar. Just one more thing, when you draw these shapes, you will always start drawing from a corner point. But if you want to draw from a specific point, like let's say I want to select that button, I can click in the middle and hold down Alt, and then I'm going to draw my circle from the center where I click. So that's also another useful option that you should know. And whenever you draw a selection, you can also hold down space to reposition the selection. And when you let go space, you can continue drawing and changing the shape of your selections. And there's just one more thing, the style for the marquee tools, which can be changed to fixed ratio or fixed size. So for example, if I select the rectangle tool and I change it to fixed ratio, then I won't be able to change from square unless I change the ratio. So for example, 2:1 ratio, and then I will draw rectangles like this, or I can click on these arrows here to change the landscape format to portrait, for example. And then we can also use fixed size, where we can type in exactly the size of our selections. And then we just simply need to click anywhere and it will create a selection with that size. So once again, make sure you go through the selection tools and check all the options available for them.